Dr. Chopra, if you look at the four Gospels and you look at what Christianity historically is accepted as being the most accurate depiction of what Jesus said, did, and etc., you would concede that your conception of an impersonal God would contradict that. Is that right?
Oh, yes, absolutely, it would.
Okay.
And, you know, I disagree with Mr. Koukl that the four Gospels were, you know, written at the time of Jesus' existence.
When do you think they were written?
Well, according to all scholarly research, anywhere from 60 AD to 100 AD.
Yeah, at 62 AD, the book of Acts was finished. That was the account of the early church, and Paul was in prison at that time. We know when he was in prison. By secular history, it was in 62, okay? The book of Acts was written by Luke after he wrote his gospel. That means the gospel of Luke had to be written in the late 50s. All scholars say the gospel of Luke was not the first gospel, but rather Mark was the first gospel and possibly Matthew. So you have two other accounts written before the end of the second decade after the death of Christ. So by that reckoning, within 15 years, you have writings circulating about the life of Christ from people who experienced the very thing. That's good scholarship, and that's standard scholarship. Are there people out there on the fringes that say differently? Certainly, but that's not sound scholarship. I just gave a very good argument for early dating, and it's sound.
Okay, you know, I read the recent Newsweek issue, which differed quite a lot from your account.
Consider the source. Newsweek and the Jesus Seminar, even those people who are considered very, very radical, even by liberal academic scholars on this issue, they don't draw from the right sources, quite frankly.
Okay. You must draw from the right sources.
No, there is a wide variety of sources to draw from that mainline evangelical and non-evangelical scholarship to draw from, and they didn't do that. I mean, I just know the field.
Do you agree that the King James Bible is like the 18th or 19th iteration since the year 313?
No, you have a misunderstanding about how translations take place. This is my field. The translation goes from the Greek into the English from the original manuscripts, and the original language was Greek, so you have one iteration from what I use now, like a New American Standard or an NIV Bible, and what was written then. One iteration, not 18 iterations. There have been other translations that they don't build upon.
And you really believe that Christ's version of the truth is the only version of the truth?
I think Jesus was right. I think if the Gospels are accurate, and I have every reason to believe that they are in their broad, salient details. And here's a man who claimed to be God, who claimed to be the only way of salvation, who clearly claimed to be the way of forgiveness of sin, and then controlled the forces of nature, raised the dead, healed the sick, cast out demons, predicted his own death and resurrection, and then raised himself from the dead. And eyewitnesses saw this. Now, if that really happened, and that's really the question here, then Jesus has tremendous credibility in my book. And frankly, I'm going to stick with Jesus Christ instead of with Deepak Chopra on this issue.
Yeah, but what if I showed you similar accounts in the East about other people?
Then I'd have to see whether the justification, if you are just as critical of the historical reliability of those documents as you are of the gospel accounts, and to see if those documents have as well attested evidence for their historical reliability as the gospel accounts. So far, I haven't seen that.
Well, I think personally both East and West versions of God are mostly mythical and not historical.
Does it come down to the issue of truth, Dr. Chopra, that can we or can we not know the truth about God?
I think in a certain state of awareness, when we can experience deep stillness within us, we can get a great taste for it, but I don't think we can, in the relative, ever know the truth unless we are willing to embrace our own uncertainty and take that leap of faith and say, I'll trust the unknown because of what I've experienced. But, you know, my faith doesn't come from a book.
Okay.
Not even mine.
Well, the idea of truth is diametrically opposed to taking a leap of faith. Listen, Lee, if you can't know what the truth is on things in general, you will not survive 24 hours. Everybody who gets in a car, everybody who takes medicine, everybody who walks out the door has to have some way of assessing what the truth is.
But
now,
lots of people have religious truth that's so different.
Well, this is the question, is whether it's truth or not.
Why has this version got to be the only one that's true?
I'm not arguing right now that this one is the only one that's true. What I'm trying to argue is that they can't all be true. And just because you have people who have different conceptions of truth doesn't mean that all conceptions of truth are equal.
But they're
if
as
people have a
much-
different conception of truth, then obviously they could be mistaken.
They're as fervently convinced as you are that
That's
their
right.
version is
That's why
true.
it doesn't matter how fervent a person is. What matters is the reasons he has for believing what he believes.